Good morning. Welcome to Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace. Welcome to the Soul of Sunday. We are Unitarian Universalists. Ours is an historic faith with a progressive theology. We affirm the worth and dignity of every being, and that we are all deeply interconnected. We are bound to one another not by creed, but by covenant, and we are called to love with open minds, open hearts, and open hands. Whoever you are, those of all nations, all creeds, all colors, all kinds of love, you are welcome here. For our Chalice Lighting this morning, we have with us three National Unitarian Universalist leaders. Aisha Hauser, who is a member of the new lead worship team at the Church of the Larger Fellowship. Reverend Martha Valentin, who is Professional Development Director at the Unitarian Universalist Association. And Reverend Michael Slack, who is Community Minister for Worship and Spiritual Care for Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. They will be sharing words written by the late Congressman John Lewis from his book, Across That Bridge.
You are a light.
You are the light.
Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light.
Study the path of others to make your way easier and more abundant.
Lean toward the whispers of your heart.
Discover the universal truth.
And follow its dictates.
Release the need to hate, to harbor division, and the enticement of revenge.
Release all bitterness.
Hold only love, only peace in your heart, knowing that the battle of good to overcome evil is already won.
Choose confrontation wisely.
But when it is your time, don't be afraid to stand up, and speak out against injustice.
And if you follow your truth down the road to peace and the affirmation of love,
if you shine like a beacon for all to see,
then the poetry of all the great dreamers and philosophers is yours to manifest in a nation,
a world community,
and a beloved community.
that is finally at peace with itself.
We are excited to have Art Nava as our guest preacher today. Art has attended Arlington Street Church since 2014 and currently serves as our Unitarian Universalist Association as a peer facilitator in the New England region and is a member of the Religious Education Credentialing Committee. Art enjoys nonprofit board work and currently serves as the National Board Chair of Gay for Good and as Friday Night Supper Program's treasurer. Art was born and raised in El Paso, where he had the joy of living and learning in a truly bicultural, binational community. He now lives in Lowell with his husband, Rich Abreu, and their dog, Spencer. Welcome, Art, and thank you for putting together this service for us. I'm so happy we can be here Zooming to worship together. We're doing an awesome job staying together while we're apart. Thanks again and again to our extraordinary tech team, Rich Abreu, Sandy Dixon, Frank Lee, Jonah Buchman, Art Nava, and Barb Seidel. They're making it all possible. If you haven't already downloaded today's order of service, there's a link in the chat, and it's also available on the homepage at ascboston.org. All of the hymn lyrics are included in the order of service and will be posted in the chat so we can sing together. And now please say hello in the chat as we continue our virtual greetings. As we finish our initial hellos, we will sing our first hymn, number 34, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire. Let's engage that Arlington Street spirit of welcome that transcends social distance as we greet one another heart to heart.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire and have not love, my words are in vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess and striving so my love profess, but not begin my love within, the prophet soon turn strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed by this we worship and are free.
It is now time for our treasured ritual of sharing community candles of sorrow and joy. These candles were submitted at ascboston.org. If you didn't submit your candle, and you have one you'd like to share this morning, I invite you to type it into our chat. In addition to sharing our sorrows and joys this morning, let's reach out to one another in the week ahead, staying connected. May these times remind us of how very precious this beloved community is. Despite having to be apart, may we stay very close. And now, in the spirit of invocation, let's join in singing Sanctuary. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Some of us come today with heavy hearts. We open our hearts to you. A mixed candle from Laura Pattinson, for my father, Edward Ned Pattison, who died on August 22nd, 1990, at the age of 58. He did great things in his short life. Presente. A candle of sorrow from Bill Briggs and Keith Perrin Briggs. Please send prayers and healing energy to our beloved David McLean on Thursday. He is having surgery to remove a small brain tumor that was discovered last week. The outcome of the surgery will determine what further treatment is needed. A final candle of concern from Arlington Street Church for all suffering from the devastating wildfires in California. May all those working to end this natural disaster stay safe and find the nourishment they need. And may all those who have been injured, who are living in fear, who are feeling triggered, and for all displaced, find healing and find sanctuary.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Some of us come today in joy. We share your joy. Our one spoken candle of joy today is to celebrate acts of kindness and care. This week, the Helen Woodward Animal Center in California announced it would be offering free educational assistance to employees while schools are closed for in-person learning. Licensed teachers will be on site to tutor students in small groups, and kids can take breaks to interact with the animals who are cared for on site. May acts of care multiply during this time of incredible distress, and may they especially reach those most tired and most in need of our help.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving,
For all the sorrows and all the joys we hold in our heart, we light a silent candle to remember and to rejoice. May the peace of our sanctuary enter into our hearts as we share a quiet moment together, breathing our prayers for ourselves, for one another, for our country, and for the world. Amen. Let's join now in saying together the affirmation and covenant of this beloved spiritual community. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak our truths in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de nuestra congregación, y servicio es nuestro regalo. Esto es a lo que nos comprometemos, convivir en paz, hablar nuestras verdades con amor, y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. And now please join in singing hymn number 299, Make Channels for the Streams of Love.
Make channels for the streams of love where they may broadly run, and love as overflowing streams to fill them everyone. But if at any time we see such channels to provide, of love for us will soon be parched and dried. For we must share if we would keep this gift all else above. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love.
On Friday, May 16, 1969, the author and civil rights leader James Baldwin was a guest on the Dick Cavett Show, which at that time was a daytime talk show on ABC. At that point, his friends, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Medgar Evers, had all been assassinated, and Ronald Reagan was serving his first term as the governor of California. In fact, just the day before, Reagan had suppressed student protesters in Berkeley by dispatching the California Highway Patrol, and he would later send 2,000 National Guard there as well. A good portion of this interview has been posted recently on YouTube. In one segment, Dick Cavett asked Mr. Baldwin, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Why aren't black people in the United States more optimistic?" To our 2020 ears, the microaggression in the question is obvious. In his reply, you can hear that Baldwin understood that. He first mentions how the language used to refer to black Americans is dehumanizing, and reason alone for giving up hope. He also questions whether stereotypes of happy slaves might be an underlying assumption of the question being asked. His response is spontaneous, but you can tell he's thought about these questions for years. He goes on to make the main point of his response, which we will listen to now in his own voice.
I don't want to be given anything by you. I just want you to leave me alone so I can do it myself. And it also overlooks another very important thing. Perhaps I don't think that this republic is the summit of human civilization. Perhaps I don't want to become like Ronald Reagan or like the president of General Motors. Perhaps I have another sense of life, which in fact my situation here has forced me to trust. And perhaps I know more about you and your institutions than you know about me. And perhaps I have a judgment on them. Perhaps I don't want what you think I want. And that there's nothing you can give me. Perhaps there is something that I can give you.
I'm going to repeat his words back to you because I know the quality of the audio from this television broadcast from over 50 years ago has suffered as it's made its transition to life in the 21st century. And I'm also repeating them because it is really important for us to hear today what James Baldwin is saying. I don't want to be given anything by you. I just want you to leave me alone so I can do it myself. Perhaps I don't think that this republic is the summit of human civilization. Perhaps I don't want to become like Ronald Reagan or like the president of General Motors. Perhaps I have another sense of life, which in fact, my situation here has forced me to trust. Perhaps I know more about you and your institutions than you know about me. And perhaps I have a judgment on them. Perhaps I don't want what you think I want, and there's nothing you can give me. Perhaps there's something I can give you. This video was posted about a week before the publishing of the book, Begin Again, James Baldwin's America and Its Urgent Lessons for Our Own, written by Professor Eddie S. Glaude, Jr. This book shows Baldwin's writings continue to resonate strongly today and is the latest chapter of a Baldwin revival that has been building since 2014. Dr. Cornel West describes the book as follows. In the midst of an ugly regime and a beautiful Baldwin revival, Eddie Glaude has plunged to the profound depths and risen to the sublime heights of Baldwin's prophetic challenge to our present-day crisis. With subtle brilliance and heartfelt tears, Glaude breaks bread with Baldwin in order to give us courage and hope. I can't do this book justice in a 15-minute sermon, but with summer drawing to a close, I'm hopeful that those of you who are interested will join me in reading this book during the fall in an online book club here on Arlington Street's Zoom room. In a few minutes, I'm going to rely on another video where you can hear a bit more from Cornel West about why this book is so important. But before doing that, I want to share a concept introduced by Bell Hooks in her book, All About Love, published 20 years ago. She refers to the concept with the term love ethic. She first explains why a love ethic is important. She states the following: refusal to stand up for what you believe in weakens individual morality and ethics, as well as those of the culture. Cultures of domination rely on the cultivation of fear as a way to ensure obedience. In our society, we make much of love and say little about fear. Yet, we are all terribly afraid most of the time. As a culture, we are obsessed with the notion of safety. Yet, we do not question why we live in states of extreme anxiety and dread. Fear is the primary force upholding structures of domination. It promotes the desire for separation, the desire not to be known. When we are taught that safety lies always with sameness, then difference of any kind will appear as a threat. When we choose to love, we choose to move against fear, against alienation and separation. The choice to love is a choice to connect, to find ourselves in the other. It's important to note that she defines love as the will to nurture our own or another's spiritual growth. She goes on to explain, commitment to a love ethic transforms our lives by offering us a different set of values to love by. In large and small ways, we make choices based on a belief that honesty, openness, and personal integrity need to be expressed in public and private decisions. She continues, I know no one who has embraced a love ethic whose life has not become more joyous and more fulfilling. The widespread assumption that ethical behavior takes the fun out of life is false. In actuality, living ethically ensures that relationships in our lives, including encounters with strangers, nurture our spiritual growth. 7 weeks ago, on July 1st, Haymarket Books streamed a live interview with Eddie Glaude and Cornel West. The 90-minute interview was conducted by poet, writer, and editor Maya Marshall. We're going to watch about 5 minutes of this interview, during which they discuss the main lessons for us today that we can learn by looking at the life of James Baldwin.
And see what you have in this text. And I want people to see what it looks like. See what it looks like. See what you have in this text is the way in which you attempt to regenerate and revitalize the greatness of a tradition of Black intellectuals or any intellectuals concerned about Black doings and suffering. So he begins with Baldwin talking about the end of his life. Mm-hmm. This is where hope comes from. I've tried to do my work, he says to my brother. I hope somebody will find when they dig in the wreckage and the rubbles and the ruins something that could be of use to them. Yes. To find the best of me. This is what we have in this text. That's why
there's a line there's so many lines in Jimmy that will blow you away. But there's a moment in Istanbul, he's being interviewed by Ebony. And he uses Begin Again, and Baldwin is sitting there, and it's 1970, I think. And the interviewer asks him, what then about hope? Because Baldwin retreats. This is on page 145 in the text.
I remember that.
Right. Remember, Baldwin retreats.
Exactly what he said. I remember what he said.
What did he say? What did he say?
He said, hope must be invented every day.
Every day.
Be invented every day. Is that right?
That's right.
Oh, you see, that's our tradition, brother.
That's our tradition.
That's our tradition there. Hope is not abstract. It's a verb. It's motion. It's movement. It's deed. It's praxis. And you got to be improvisational about it. You got to be jazz-like about it. You got to be blues-like about it. You better reinvent that thing every day. Good morning, heartache. I got to reinvent my fortifying resources to deal with that heartache, and it's going to come back the next day.
Exactly.
It's going to come back the next day. It's going to come back the next day. You get Billie Holiday echoing through with her genius, Baldwin right there. And the Baldwin, of course, he understands musicians mean the world to him.
Absolutely. But that's
yes.
So I was thinking about that line as an answer to Maya. Mm-hmm. In the face of the assassination of Dr. King, where they murdered an apostle of love, and Jimmy collapses, could barely pick up the pieces, tries to commit suicide in 1969. Has to find, relationships collapsing around him. Still thinks he's this loveless child who's ugly because his daddy told him he was so ugly that he then believed that nobody could love that ugly little boy. Finds himself in Istanbul trying to figure out how to speak to this moment. And there he gives utterance to this line, this formulation that Doc just laid out. Hope is invented every day.
Every day. No, that's real though, brother. That's
what real. A necessary practice. What a necessary practice that we in fact are the hope You know, it is our commitment to showing up. That is the hope. That is the model. That is the practice of witness. And he was just so right so often, even
And
in the
see,
midst of
Sister
this
Maya,
pain.
all the courage and risk and willingness to be crushed and misunderstood and misconstrued and thoroughly pushed to the fringes and still have that kind of bounce back. See,
That's it.
that's the raw
That's it.
stuff. You see what I mean?
That's
the
it.
raw stuff. You see, so that what we have in Brother Eddie's book here in the middle of a blues-like situation in the U.S. empire. He's saying, well, you know, we blues people, this ain't new for us. We've been here before. Not this particular historical moment, but similar kinds of moments. And it's a human thing. It's not just a black thing, because black folk are human beings, presuppose, assume, don't have to prove nothing to nobody.
That's
and
right.
yet we still have to learn how to love and fight and hope and laugh in our families with our mamas and our daddies in our mosques and our temples and our synagogues and our churches in our universities.
Bell Hooks would agree with them when she wrote, "To live our lives based on the principles of a love ethic, showing care, respect, knowledge, integrity, and the will to cooperate, we have to be courageous." In the reading that we used for the Chalice Lighting this morning, John Lewis gave us a three-part charge. The first was to study the path of others. The second was to hold love in our hearts. James Baldwin and Bell Hooks point us towards finding the wellsprings of love and hope. The third part of John Lewis's charge was to not be afraid, to stand up, and speak out against injustice. Having love as the basis for seeking justice in the world can make it easier to ensure accountability. Accountability with each other, accountability within our organizations and institutions, and accountability from our political leaders. I'd like to spend the last few minutes with you this morning, giving you an update on some work being done within the Unitarian Universalist Association. As reported in UU World in 2017, a hiring decision that March of a white male minister to a regional leadership position within the Unitarian Universalist Association, an organization in which almost all the top staff positions were held by white people, had sparked controversy over whether the UUA was living its stated racial justice values. By the end of April, a denomination-wide white supremacy teach-in had taken shape, and over 700 congregations participated, including our own. Aisha Hauser, who helped light our chalice this morning, was one of the religious education professionals who organized that teach-in. A couple months later, in June 2017, at the New Orleans General Assembly, the UUA Board of Trustees announced and chartered the Commission on Institutional Change. The charge given was to conduct an audit of the power structures and analyze systemic racism and white supremacy culture within the UUA. And 3 years later, in June of this year, that commission has issued its final report titled Widening the Circle of Concern, which contains many recommendations and takeaways for UUA leadership, congregations, and for us as individuals. We'll post a link in the chat where you can find more information on this report. There are other ways that Unitarian Universalists across the country continue to fight against injustice. The congregation in Portland, Oregon, has joined the lawsuit over federal agents at Black Lives Matter protests. UU The Vote continues to bring faith, love, and action to electoral justice at this important time. And the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee continues important work protecting human rights on many fronts. Even in these times of pandemic, all these efforts continue. I'll leave you this morning with words from Bell Hooks. Learning how to face our fears is one way we embrace love. Our fear may not go away, but it will not stand in the way. Those of us who have already chosen to embrace a love ethic, allowing it to govern and inform how we think and act, know that when we let our light shine, we draw to us and are drawn to other bearers of light. We are not alone. My spiritual companions, may we live up to John Lewis's charge of us by learning from the lives of others, learning how to live with love in our heart, and not being afraid to stand up, and speak out against injustice in our world. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
Each of us has the power to make a difference, to do our part to strengthen the safety net that holds us all. Your generous enthusiasm and support for everything Arlington Street is doing to uplift and uphold us, keeping us strong and connected, is deeply appreciated. All of us, opening our virtual wallets and giving of our hearts, continues to make it possible for us to thrive during these difficult days. Each week we fill the virtual collection plate, and the generosity of this beloved spiritual community never ceases to amaze us. We know these times are hard and are affecting each of us differently. As we continue to live through this pandemic, we are reminded that community is a place to hold each other when we can, and to be held by each other when we need support. If this is a time when you can give, please take a moment now to text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 617-300-0509. Scan the QR code in the order of service or click on the yellow donate button on the bottom right of the homepage at ascboston.org. Here's that number again, 617-300-0509. Thank you for your generosity. After you make your gift to sustain our beloved spiritual community, please continue to share in the chat what inspires you during these difficult days.
Simple walk to the corner store. Mama never thought she'd be getting a call from the coroner. Said her son's been gunned down, Can you come now? Tears in her eyes, can you calm down? Please, ma'am, can you calm down? It rained fire in the city that day, they say. A river of blood in the streets, no love in the streets. And then came silence in the city that day, they say. Just another one gone, and they tell her move on. And she's stuck there singing, baby, don't you close your eyes, 'cause this could be our final time. And you know I'm horrible at saying goodbye. And I think of all you could have done, at least you'll stay forever young. I guess you picked the perfect way to die. Oh, I guess you picked the perfect way to die. New job, new city, new her. Bright-eyed, you would have been proud if you knew her. Flashing lights in the mirror, pull over, pull over. A couple nights in detention and it's over. A whole life's over. They came marching in the city that day, they say. carrying signs in the streets, crying eyes in the streets, but they heard nothing from the city that day. They say, just another one gone, and the city moved on. But we're stuck here singing, baby, don't you close your eyes, 'cause this could be our final time. And you know I'm horrible at saying goodbye. And I'll think of all you could have done, at least you'll stay forever young. I guess you picked the perfect way to die. Oh, I guess you picked the perfect way to die. Another dream lost, another king and queen lost, another broken promise they refuse to make right. Another night to live in fear, another night that you're not here, another reason to get out there and fight. But I said, baby, don't you close your eyes, 'cause this could be our final time. And you know I'm horrible at saying goodbye. But I think of all you could have done, at least you'll stay forever young. I guess you picked the perfect way to die. Oh, I guess you picked the perfect way.
At the close of today's service, during virtual coffee hour, an invitation will appear on your screen, inviting you to join a breakout room. This is an opportunity to visit with each other in a smaller, quieter setting. If you click yes, you'll automatically find yourself there. You can just say hello, or you might want to share a thorn and a rose from this past week, what's hard and what's good. Please be sure to leave time for everyone to speak. I'll try to get around to each breakout room. After a few minutes, you'll be invited back from your breakout room to say goodbye to everyone. There are so many great moments of connection happening this week in the Arlington Zoom room. Thank you to all who are serving as hosts this summer to keep these programs going. A full list of events and link to the Zoom room can be found at ascboston.org. Whether you've been a part of our community for decades or whether today is your first service with us, all are welcome at any of our events. Reverend Kim and Reverend Beth invite you to join them for iced tea in the Arlington Street Zoom room this coming Wednesday at 5 p.m. Bring your own tea. And I'll look forward to seeing you here next Sunday morning when Reverend Erica Roselong will preach her sermon, The Blame Game. Remember, my friends, love is the spirit of this congregation, and we're all in this together. Please join us in singing our final hymn, number 1017, We Are Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working
sea. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
Greg Boyd serves on the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and Mike Gibbons is the Associate Director of Strategic Communications at the UU Service Committee. They will share more words from the late Congressman John Lewis as our closing benediction today.
Though I may not be here with you, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe.
In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate that the way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way.
Now it is your turn to let freedom ring.
When historians pick up their pens to write the story of the 21st century, let them say that it was your generation who laid down the heavy burdens of hate, at last, and that peace finally triumphed over violence, aggression, and war.
So I say to you, walk with the wind, brothers and sisters, and let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide.
Amen.
Ashe.
Blessed be.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine.
Please visit ascboston.org for more information about this historic Unitarian Universalist congregation. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.